What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Casual Critic YouTube channel. I'm happy to have you here today. We are reviewing Top Gun Maverick, the Top Gun sequel that just came out this past Friday. I'm gonna be honest, I hadn't seen the original Top Gun, just never got around to it. I don't know why. I know it's a very iconic movie, but I was like, well, this is a big release, Top Gun Maverick. I should review it on the channel. So I watched the original Top Gun the day before I saw it. And I'm gonna be honest, Top Gun, the original, is kind of way overhyped. I really don't get why it is so iconic. I honestly feel like so many men just love Tom Cruise. And I think that a lot of middle-aged men want to suck on Tom Cruise's pee-pee and they just won't admit it. And I think that's fine if you want to do that. But I don't know what the obsession is with Tom Cruise and Tom Cruise movies. He's not a good actor. I mean, I'll get into his acting in this sequel in a minute, but I just don't understand the hype around the original Top Gun. So watching the original one and, not really loving it, I wasn't very excited to watch this movie. I just wanted to do it because it was a big movie coming out. Wanted to review it on the channel. So I wasn't excited, but I started to see really good reviews online from some people that I didn't expect to like it because that's not typically the movie that they like. So I was excited. I mean, I went in with an open mind. I didn't write it off completely going in. I was just like, what's about to happen? I knew it was going to be action-packed. I knew it was going to be a fun time at least. But I didn't think that the story and everything was going to be that good. But I'll get into my review here in a second. So, of course, we've got Tom Cruise in this, of course, and we've got Val Kilmer from the first movie. I did not know all that stuff about Val Kilmer's voice. So, in this movie, he, doesn't talk that much. And I was just like, okay, I mean, it makes sense because these people are getting old. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're getting old. It made sense for the movie, but I didn't know about that going in. So, I'm sorry, Val. That really sucks. Jennifer Connelly is in it. I'll get into her in a minute. I really did not enjoy her in this movie. And Miles Teller is in it, who normally I really like, but I really did not think that he brought his A game in this movie. But we'll get into that as well in a minute. It's got a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like I was saying earlier, it's getting really good reviews. And this is going to be a non-spoiler review. There's not a lot of things that I could spoil. It's pretty just the story's really not that complicated or anything. It's just like a straight up action movie story. But it will be a non-spoiler review. I won't get into too many details. So as far as what this is about, a very general premise of this movie is Tom Cruise, Maverick. He's asked to go back to Top Gun after 30 years because you know how he is. He's a little scamp. He likes to get in trouble. And so he hasn't even had a promotion. He's still, he was a lieutenant in Top Gun number uno. And he's a captain now, but he hasn't been promoted any, further past a captain, which I don't know about the rankings. I'm not in the Army. But he's just a little scamp and he's getting into trouble, but he's been asked back to Top Gun because they're trying to pull off this mission that's literally impossible. When they told me, it's like I'm being briefed, okay? When they said in the movie what the mission was, I was like, that's literally impossible. But of course, they've got to bring Maverick back because he can do the impossible. And as far as my expectations, I already kind of talked about that, but I just think that the original is overhyped and wasn't really looking forward to this sequel, but I knew it would be a decent time at least. So as far as my review goes, okay, this movie turned out to be way better, way better than I thought it was going to be. As far as the story goes, it's very fast-paced. It's very fast-paced. It's very fast-paced. It's very interesting. And when, I guess it is kind of it's a layered story. It's not a complicated story, like I was saying, but it's a layered story because it's about him coming back to Top Gun and all that comes with that. But it's also about his relationships. It's about Goose. A lot of it is about Goose from the first movie, okay? And him just dealing with that. I mean, I can spoil the first movie. I'm not going to spoil this movie, but obviously Goose is the dad. We know that. But it's about that and him dealing with that because he's you can tell, he's a man. He's a man. So he has buried that shit as far as it'll go. And he's just kind of coming to terms with that when he revisits Top Gun. And I won't say why exactly, but you'll get it. You'll get it pretty quickly. The major problem that I had, I mean, 95% of the movie, I was completely engaged, on the edge of my seat. The story is very good. But the only problem I had with the story was his love interest. Why does he need to have a love interest? Is it just because it's Tom Cruise? Is it just because the men that like to go see these movies need to have him be with someone? Because I feel like the men who go watch these kinds of movies are living vicariously through these people, which is weird and unhealthy. Like, I mean, it's not unhealthy to a certain extent, but I feel like men could jack off to Top Gun. Not even the sex scene in Top Gun. They could just jack off to him flying the plane. That's the kind of men who go see these movies. I'm just saying. Okay? And not everybody, but the people in my theater, hell yeah. It was kind of weird. You can feel the energy. But his love interest was so unnecessary, and I feel like that was just because it's Tom Cruise. And I feel like he probably requested that. He's like, I'm not doing this movie unless I have a love interest. All the parts with him and his love interest are so boring and doesn't need to be there. We did not need any of that. As far as the directing goes, it's your basic point and shoot kind of movie. That's typically what you get with action movies. I'm not complaining about that. I think if the story's good enough, you don't need all this fancy directing. There are a couple of cinematic shots, but nothing too crazy. And I think the story definitely makes up for the directing just being pretty basic kind of directing. You know what I mean? But that's fine. Like I said, I'm not complaining about that. And the plane sequences were filmed way better. And I know they did not have the kind of technology. I think the original came out in 1986. It was the 80s, obviously. I think it was 1986. But I know they couldn't have filmed that as good as they could have filmed it today. However, I think in the original, even without their lack of technology and being able to shoot stuff like that, I still think that they could have been shot better. Because 99% of the time when they're in those planes, I don't even know what the hell is going on. You can't tell what's going on. So I think they did way better on the plane sequences in this sequel. Now, here's where I knew the story would be at least somewhat interesting. I didn't think the story would be as good as it was. But where it really, rises in my expectations is the acting and the writing. Because both of the acting and the writing in the first movie are bad. I don't like Tom Cruise. I don't think he's a good actor. In anything, really. I didn't think he did a good job in the first one. It was just cheesy, oh yeah, I'm a hot shot. Look, I'm Tom Cruise and I'm a hot shot. That's how he is. But that's how he is in every movie. He's like this hot shot. Oh shit, I'm a hot shot. Shut up, Tom Cruise. I don't like him. I don't like him acting. I don't like him personally. Just how he is as a person. But him in this movie, it was actually pretty good. And I hate to say that almost just because I dislike him so much. But it was, from what I've seen, now I don't go out and seek Tom Cruise performances in Tom Cruise movies. I try to steer clear of them, to be honest with you. But I have seen a few. Out of everything that I've seen Tom Cruise do, this is by far my favorite performance of his. But keep in mind, like I said, I haven't watched a lot of his movies. I try not to. I don't like him. But I had to watch the first Top Gun. I mean, it's iconic. It's just one of those movies you have to. So I thought he did great. I think everyone was pretty good. There were some people not as good as others. Jennifer Connelly, the love interest, I didn't think she was really that good. I really didn't. And also Miles Teller. I was really disappointed in his performance because I really like him. And I didn't think he did that good. I mean, he had his moments, but I think he had his moments because the writing was so good. Because the writing is it's pretty good. It's really good, actually. There were a lot of good lines, really pulling at your heartstrings because there's a lot of emotional stuff, because Goose is dead and all that stuff. I thought the writing was really good. And I think the good moments that Miles Teller had was only because of the writing and not necessarily his acting, which really disappointed me because I think he's a very good actor and I thought he would be good in this, but maybe not. But yeah. Writing and acting are leaps and bounds better than the first one. I think this is one of the best sequels for a movie like this. You have this iconic movie from the past, the 80s or whatever. and then they'll do a sequel, or, you know, just something that's very iconic that they are trying to redo. And most of the time, those sequels turn out to be shit. However, I think that this sequel is better than the original, at least in my opinion. I rated it better than the original one. I think I gave the original either a 2 or a 2.5 out of 5. I can't remember exactly. But this one, as far as the enjoyability of it, I would give it a 4 out of 5. But technically, like as a movie, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. I hope that makes sense. I don't want to be too critical, but I would rate it in between somewhere a 3.5 and a 4, which is way higher than I thought that it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like a 3 max, like a light 3. What is that guy? The needle drop. He's like, I give this album a light 2.7. Shut up. But that's where I was thinking I was going to rate it. Turned out to be a whole lot better than I thought. I'm glad I watched it. I had a good time. So if you've seen Top Gun Maverick, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments. In the description box, you'll find my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Please go follow me on all those social media platforms. My Instagram is popping off, to be honest. You get a lot of extra content on my Instagram, a lot of sneak peeks as far as what videos are coming up on the channel. So please be sure to check that out. You can find all that in the description box. And be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. It would help me out a lot. And give this video a thumbs up. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next review. Peace.